it's on my computer. I don't have to, okay, you do it.
Oh, do you want to do it?
No, I'm fine with you doing it if you can figure it out for yourself how to send a link to me. I think since you've done it before, it should be easy
If you
for you
want to,
figure
though,
out.
and you have more ease with doing stuff with the link, why don't we do it that way?
Yeah, I think right now how I feel, where I'm at emotionally, because I feel kind of stressed out. So I feel it would be easier for me to just do the recording myself.
I'm gonna. Oh, now I'm trying to turn the recording thing off.
Or just continue recording, but I'm not going to send you reminders. I'm not going to send you reminders. You're going to need somebody else to help you send the video link to me. Does that work for you?
Yeah, I'll do it like I did it last time.
And can you do it within at least a week from the call?
David. Yeah.
And if you haven't, I will send you a reminder, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning, David.
I thought I would be proactive and start a call, get everybody together on my line till Tina got a chance to show up, but that was right before things got going. So
yeah,
apologies for the confusion.
No problem. So I don't have that meeting that I thought I had. So, but I mean, if we would want the spaciousness to go like 2 hours, if people have that spaciousness, it's cool. And if not, also cool. Either way, I'm flexible.
So let's do what you suggested before, Tina. Let's do a check-in.
Okay.
See where we're at.
Who wants to begin?
I can start. Had a good sleep last night. I'm all coffeeed up. Sun is shining here, or was for a second. I'm complete.
Well, for me, the reason I had to be delayed was because I did not get a good night's sleep and I had to get my coffee going. And so I did that and I let Bella out. And so I feel at least here now drinking my coffee. And it's cold here, which means about 50 Fahrenheit, but here that's cold and it's windy and kind of burr. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what we come up with on this call. So I am complete.
You or me, James?
I'm feeling irritated that the call started late and I'm not clear about what's going to happen today, and I'm irritated that it's being recorded, and I'm irritated about what happened on the last call. I'm done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, my turn. I have this kind of mix of stress and sadness and real heaviness around the call starting late, and also having this idea that I have this massive responsibility somehow for getting a conversation where it's possible for people to be real and to trust that there's any sensible meaning passed on, that this is kind of my purpose for having a call now, to see what a call like that would look like, and if people are on the same page of like, is that what you're looking for? Because we mentioned restorative circles, for instance. And it's also super heavy that then I'm involved in another fucking conflict around how to share RC, and especially when being a beginner. So it's super confusing that there are these implicit rules and or requests and explicit requests as well that I don't understand the meaning of, and there's not really any space where I feel that I could get an easy explanation for it. So yeah, tons of stress. I'm really right now. I would be happy with, for instance, if I give an explanation for, maybe just start with questions to me, since I was the one basically taking an initiative to having this calls, or like this call right now. I'd appreciate questions of any confusion, or like you, James, you had some irritation
Sure.
around the call being recorded.
Sure. Questions. Yeah, what is the hope, the goal for today, and what are the what is this container? Is it a place where I'm being invited to talk about specific conflict? I see that specific conflict is named in the description of the event, but the specific conflict is not described. So I'm kind of left assuming what the conflict is. Maybe I'd like it to be named if we're going to talk about it. And yeah.
What I'm wondering, yeah, I can see that it's blurry. Where do the lines go of how much you tell and what? I would say that it's a conflict between me and you, at least. And I would like to be able to have an honest conversation between me and you. And then how to get into that. Like, would it be easier for you to have a name for it rather than?
I'll tell you right now,
Yeah.
I'm not going to have an honest conversation that's being recorded.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That this call is recorded for me right now for my own comfortability, because I feel safer. I feel more comfortable, and therefore it also makes it easier for me to talk about how would a call, for instance, that is not recorded, feel comfortable for me. So this is what I would like to have. Like, I'm hearing for you in order to be able to speak openly what's going on for you and your experience, that you would not want to have a recorded call. That's a wish. And that's what I'm hoping for from this call. Wishes expressed on how to create that space where people can meet, you and me specifically, in this conflict, and we can still feel like have a sense of that it would be a meaningful meeting, that we can be open with what's going on for us. And yeah, and it's still kind of an exploration, because I have no idea what a talk would feel like afterwards. So for me, a concern that I have is like, how do I take care of myself after? How do I take care of myself during a call, and how do I take care of myself after? Right now, I'm taking care of myself by having a call recorded. Yeah. I don't know if would you prefer having, is this kind of having any meaning for you, having this conversation right now, James? Or would you prefer just having reflected back what it is that's important for you?
Yes, this conversation is meaningful to me. I would want to take it slower. I would want you to have an opportunity to be heard to satisfaction before sharing my own irritations. So I get confused when I'm invited to share honestly, and then I don't have an opportunity to be fully heard or to have my ideas explored. So I'm letting go of that. And just kind of, I mean, I'm noticing the high degree of irritation in both of us. And I'm not looking to add to that. And so, but I'm not looking to add to it, but I also think it's important to point out that I don't trust this container. And I don't want you to take that as a personal attack on you. I want to point out the aspects of this container which make it unsafe for me.
Mm. Yeah, I'm kind of hearing it as this being quite intense for you, and you're kind of at the edge of, where you're at emotionally. It's and even getting to a meta level of talking about what a container that would keep you safe and sane and have trust towards anything meaningful happening where you can express yourself fully. Getting to a meta level in a conversation like this right now, it's not something that you see as really possible for you. That's how I understand what you're saying right now.
Oh no, I think it's possible. I think that that's what we're doing right now. I think we're both addressing our emotions in the present as well as the meta level about the container and what a strong container might look like. I do think it's more difficult to have to do both of those simultaneously.
Okay, so a part of you is kind of, you have a willingness to go into conflict, and it's really frustrating not being there yet. And even now, talking about what would be a safe container for you, that there's a lot of things that don't feel safe about it, but you're still kind of you're willing to lay yourself out there in the format that's not working for you. Like, for instance, the call being recorded now and the unclarity of what's going to happen on this call as well. Just trying to understand if I'm hearing you sort of correctly or if it's like way off. Would you like silence, or would you prefer switching focus, for instance? I heard an interest towards hearing what's going on for me as well.
Yes, let's hear what's going on for you.
Okay. The suggestion I have is that all four of us get to say what we think would be a meaningful container to speak openly and to express ourselves and to kind of have to see if we're even on the same page of, is it important to have meaning? That meaning is exchanged in a conversation, or what is it that we're looking for? So I don't know how to say it more clearly, but if engaging in a conversation between you and me, James, where the intention is that we can express what's really there for us, and what would increase the trust that it would be a meaningful conversation, and what would increase the trust that we're kind of held with care, that's important for me. And I think any other ideas that are there for other people, it would be nice to just go in a circle and then to have each and every one reflected back by somebody on this call, just to check if we understand each other, because we're different people with different life experiences and different wishes and hopes and dreams. So that's what I'm suggesting that we would do. Could start with me, for instance, and then just go around and see what happens. Is this okay, or are there any questions around it?
I don't agree to this call being recorded.
Would it be easier for you to because I hear that there's a curiosity from you of what's there for me, and I'm guessing, like, yeah, but what would be the reason not to record? Because for me, it's safety. It's kind of feeling really uncomfortable about the stuff that has happened before. So for me, it's a way of really taking care of myself. And I hear that it's not working for you.
I have.
Yeah.
To answer your question.
Yeah.
I have a prediction that as soon as I start being honest, you will remove me from the call.
Like right now?
I'm just saying it's a general sense that as soon as I start being honest, I will be removed from the call. I imagine that the justification for that will be something about how people observing this call, how my words affect people observing this call. So you're going to ask me somehow to take responsibility for all of the people who I don't know who may be listening here, that I somehow have to hold care for them about what I say. And I don't care about them. I don't know who's watching this. I'm not going to tell you that I care about them.
If I can give a direct response to that, for me, it's fine. You can be and say whatever you want on this call, because that the call is recorded gives me a sense of taking care of myself. So for me, the reason for staying on a meta level is both because I want to care for other people as best as I can, which I know is impossible because everybody is different and different things work for different people. But also because I want to care about you, because I've heard from you different ideas of like how to share, where to share, how open to be about certain things. So for me, it's also asking about the meta level is also about caring for you. But in relation to me, I'm kind of
Yes. So
yeah.
I am here because I do care about
Mm.
you, and I know that you want to have this conversation. And from what I see, you offer me no opportunity to have private conversation with you. So you kind of make this request. You say, I will talk to you, James, but only in public. So that puts me in a situation where if I want to talk to you about person X, if I say anything about person X, I assume that it will get back to them even though they're not in the conversation. So I don't have a way of talking to you about what matters to me and holding care for person X.
Mm. Yeah, so that's why I'm very open to hearing you wanting to have a private conversation, both out of holding care for others and also for holding care for yourself. But I also want you to know that I'm very uncomfortable with the idea because I don't know how to hold care for myself. I don't trust that there are other people capable of holding me with all the sadness, all the heaviness, all the, all the fucked up shit that I've gone through. So um, I wonder, like, if you're hearing this, that it's not about me placing super terms, but that this conversation right now is a way of getting into listening to those requests that both of us have. So you want a private conversation because you want to hold care for other people and you want to also possibly hold care for yourself. And I am open to that. But I want things to be clear beforehand of what we agree on before getting into a conversation like that. And that's why I want to have this conversation right now. That's why this conversation would be important to me. So
I want to add that I also want to have a private conversation because I think it will be a way to show care for you too.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah. If you want to, you can explain more in what way it would hold care for me, but I don't really see it myself.
Well, I'm pointing out that I hear that, right? You're saying to hold care for you, you want it public. I'm not canceling that out. I'm not canceling out what you want or what you consider care for yourself. I want to name that I see that I have the opposite opinion. I accept that we can have two different opinions on this, and it's like I want to put it on the record to say that my point of wanting to have a private conversation is not to. That is my intention. It is to hold care for you as well.
I'm kind of taking that as that you really want to hold care for me as well, but you don't see how my strategy is actually working for me, and you believe that your strategy would work better for me, that it would provide care for me. That's kind of how I'm hearing it.
I want to say I see how that strategy partially works. I don't expect to see the whole picture of why that strategy is best for you. You'll have noticed that I do not post publicly anymore in NVC Witness or anywhere else. The reason for that is because sharing publicly is not working for me as a way to show care, as a way to hold care for myself or other people.
Do you have something more you want to say about that?
Not right now.
Okay. So this was kind of going off the holding care for me in private, was just that you yourself, you don't feel like there's any space for you in public to be yourself, to express everything that's there for you fully, including care, including, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, it is a diversion from why I think it's holding care for you. It's not completely unrelated. It's I would say it's I am assuming that the same reasons that sharing publicly does not hold care for myself would be the same reasons it would not be holding care for you.
Yeah, I would say that for me, it's not true. I feel I'm more comfortable in public. So I would choose to go into a private conversation with you because I understand that it would, yeah, what, yeah.
You, I hear that it's comfortable and safe for you, but I don't hear that you're considering how it affects other people. So, for example, when you talk about me publicly, I don't hear you considering how that affects me.
I'm very willing to hear it. I think that everything that's said affects us on so many different levels. It's not just text. We're people interacting with one another, and we're there as full human beings. It's not just kind of a screen or an empty thing, or, you know, all of us, all the pieces of text that are online are real people expressing ourselves, wanting to belong, wanting to be a part of something. So that's my view on it. So I'm aware of that. Whatever I do impacts other people. And the same goes for what you do. So I'm open to, I want to have that conversation about how we impact one another. And I want to also know what is a comfortable space to do so. That is what I would like to focus this call on.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
What do you want to focus this call on?
I would like to focus on, like, James, if you imagine having a call that would feel like more safe and comfortable for you, what would that be? And right now I'm hearing private is like a space that
I want to give you an example of how something you did in public affected me without considering me. I posted some things about Hearth in NVC Witness. You took them and you posted them in the Restorative Circles group, which is a public group, and NVC Witness is a closed group. And that has an effect on me.
I posted a message that a person had asked either you or another person to spread to any NVC groups in relation to. So it was,
I don't agree with. They did ask to spread that to other groups. I didn't ask to spread it to other groups. And it names me, and it names work that I'm doing. And I didn't have a say in how that message gets shared and who sees it. I'm not saying that it was the wrong choice. I'm saying it affects me, and I'm sensitive to that.
Mm. Yeah, I get that kind of seeing how things that other people do and the choices that they make about information that is shared or things that are said about oneself or other people, like how it has an impact on you, your daily life, and like your emotional well-being and mental well-being. Like if this is, yeah, to want to have, you know, be seen in that the choices that we make have an impact, and that
I don't want to beat around the bush. I
yeah.
see it as a direct attack
Mm-hmm.
on me for you to post that in that way.
Mm.
I have a question.
Mm.
I don't want to interrupt the flow, though.
There is no flow. I really want to, like, because we have no structure for this call. Right now it's just people who take initiative for whatever. We have zero structure for the call. So whatever your flow is, go with it.
So a question for James. James, if Milla had asked, would it be okay with you if I take this post from NBC Witness and put it in the Restorative Circles Facebook group? Would there have been a sense of more choice on your part?
I'm gonna interrupt because I want to check, like, is it okay for the people on the call? I'm okay with having like a public conversation about this, to have it recorded, but I want to have like the set structure for it to go into specific conflicts. I would like to focus on what would be a meaningful way for me and James, first of all, to meet where we both feel safe. And the only thing I've heard so far is a wish from James to have a private call that's not recorded, and that's something that I'm willing to go along with. So what I would prefer would be to like focus on the meta stuff. I'm not saying no to having this conversation, but to having it right here and right now. I'm okay with having it on a recorded call. I'm okay with but I want to have a structure for it first.
So
that's yeah.
Here's what I'm hearing is right before I paused and I said I had a question, and you said, just go with it. There's no purpose for the call, or there's no outline, and then I asked the question, you said, I'm going to interrupt. I want to have a structure. So I'm almost like in a double bind, or I'm feeling like, which is it?
So there's maybe some irritation around like the confusion of not having a structure for this call, so that people are just talking on top of one another, or me interrupting you, first saying that go with your own flow, and then
I start,
then I say no to it.
I have a suggestion for some structure.
Yeah.
Because in Hearth, we have run into this problem many times, to the point where everybody's just screaming down each other. And the solution that has worked for me is to have a facilitator who is the traffic cop for the conversation. So that's if you want to have specific structure suggestions, that is a specific structure suggestion that I'm putting forward, to have a facilitator who I or we entrust to direct the conversation, direct the flow.
I would prefer having, like, because I made the invitation for the call and you joined it. Would you be okay with me facilitating the call, even though I'm directly involved in the conflict and I have a stake in it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I am definitely open to you facilitating the call.
Okay, so Tina and David, are you okay with that as well? Yeah. And I'm aware of that you're like here as complete beings as well, and that not everything I do or say is gonna like feel good. Uh, uh, I would really like for us to just have at least starting with myself and James, what would be a meaningful container to have an honest talk about some of the things we've experienced in relation to one another online. To
So,
start to have that conversation, what
yeah.
would be a meaningful container? So it's very meta, super meta,
Uh,
not this kind of you did this then and blah, 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 but I would feel safe talking with you,
Yeah.
or I would trust that. Yeah.
I see that happening already in steps, right? So one thing is having it private, another is having a facilitator. I think that those are meta elements that would help support structure and make it easier for us to have that conversation. I have more ideas. I don't want to put them
That's
out.
what I want to hear. That's what I would love this call to be about.
It is about that. It's already about that.
And since you expressed that you wanted to hear me, then maybe I would feel great starting as well.
That's fine with me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what I would want in order to have a meaningful conversation would be that I can trust that the people who are joining are taking care of themselves somehow. Maybe finding people that they can get empathy from, like to have that as an explicit request for people who join the call. So that there's not this idea of that something perfect or great is going to happen, but that this is experimenting. It's kind of trying to get into that space of seeing another person as fully human and not just as an obstacle for what makes us feel great or wonderful in life. So that's one thing, that I don't have to think about other people caring for themselves. Then another thing.
Before we move on to another thing, just to respond to that, can we make it more concrete? Rather than saying just that, well, we want people who join to have other people they can get empathy from. And this is a question. Can we make it more concrete, what we're asking?
Well, that if, for instance, agreeing to going into an RC process of sorts, whatever you call RC then, I'm using the word RC, research circles, as a simple abbreviation for what I want to happen, is that the facilitators that do the pre-circles, if we do pre-circles, then in that invitation also kind of state to the people that, yeah, do you have support to take care of yourself emotionally and mentally after a circle? To check that. And if they don't, that maybe I can list myself as a person willing to listen to people. And maybe there might be other people who are also willing to do that. That's a concrete way of doing it for me. How do you hear that? Just to check that there's what meaning is in it.
Yeah, so it is specific, right? So asking the facilitators to check in the pre-circles. It's a little divorced since we're not doing circles or pre-circles or facilitators. So because we were talking about these calls as being asking people who join these calls to get support, and then it moved to talking about some other thing. So it's just a little
Yeah,
muddled for me.
it's great. It's great. I hear there's confusion there. I guess what I'm seeing, these calls that have been like talks about general stuff that everybody experiences. We're all experiencing conflict all the time in our lives. So online conflicts is nothing new to people. But now I'm talking about what could be a possible system or container to hold this specific conflict, and that might be to engage in restorative circles. So this is what I'm not saying that this is what we have to do. This is what I'm kind of thinking as a suggestion, that we try the restorative circles process. We ask for people to facilitate it and to do the pre-circle thing. The pre-circle thing might be a chaotic thing. I don't know who would. I'm fine with either you or me starting it. You know, to initiate it. I don't care what the opening act of it is. The main thing for me is the conversation that comes out of it. Is this, how do you hear that?
I hear that. I mean, I hear an openness to building a system, and I share that. I hear that you're open to in not being in one way or the other, and you're open to me, I guess you said, doing it.
Maybe I'd like to clarify again.
Please.
Like right now, I'm just expressing my ideas and wishes for what a meaningful way of us engaging in a conversation would look like. And we're not there yet. It's about trying out ways. So it's taking a live conflict that is there and being a bit like guinea pig about it. So trying it out, and both of us are then able to see what worked or what didn't work afterwards. But I would be, I like the idea of trying out the RC process. Yeah. Is this heavy for you to sit with right now, or?
No, it's not heavy. I appreciate it. I think that we have a lot of shared goals. I also think we have a lot of shared strategies, which ironically is what contributes to the difficulty, I think, in us talking. Because I think both you and I are fiercely independent and wanting to be open and experimental. And so that leads to a lot of electricity, I think, when we brainstorm together. So no, I don't feel heavy. I feel good. I feel like I have very similar desire in what you want to create.
I'm going to interrupt you, James.
Sure.
What I'm hearing, because right now I feel like it's me sharing my thoughts and ideas, so I want to focus on that. But I hear that for you, it's kind of easy to take in, that there's some resonance in you in what I say. Maybe even some kind of excitement about it, like, you know, getting to try things out or something. But
I'm
yeah.
confused because you asked me if it was heavy for me.
Yeah.
And then when I told you how it is for me, you said, this is your time to share about you. So I feel like I'm being given conflicting signals about which direction we're going in.
Yeah, I just wanted to check briefly with you if you were silent, because there was some heavy stuff coming up. And when I heard that there wasn't, then I felt comfortable to ask to get focus and attention on my stuff again. That's what was going on for me. Yeah. Is this more clear, or?
That in itself is clear. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd still like to focus on like what my ideas are, and then to check with you what your ideas are, and then to see if by having shared those things, it's possible to get to something that we're both, you know, if we can get to something simple to try. And right now I feel like the easiest way for me would be to just, okay, let's engage with the RC process with a few tweaks. Like for instance, the facilitators asking people in the pre-circles to, and like I said, I would be fine with either one of us being the initiator of the circle.
I just want to give a heads up that I need to have a hard wall. In 20 minutes, I need to get off the phone.
Yeah. I don't want to put any pressure or stress on either one of us of like just squeezing something out of a tube, or, you know, that if this call doesn't get to a clear idea, because that's the important thing for me, that it's a clear structure so that there's no kind of, like on this call, for instance, what the hell are we doing here? But that everybody's informed on like what's going to happen, and we've all agreed on it. That's something that I would like to come to eventually, and then to try it out, and then to give feedback on how did this actually work. Yeah. So I think I'm quite fine with those wishes actually right now. Yeah, that's something that would make me feel comfortable engaging in a conversation with you, being clear that everybody who wants empathy and emotional mental care after a talk will get it. So are you okay with sharing some more ideas before you hit the wall? I heard that private is something that works better for you, not recorded. I heard you wanted facilitators.
It's interesting you should say it that way. I understand why you said it. I'm just thinking that I think private works better for other people, not for me. I think I prefer public, and people have begged me to be more private, and I'm kind of being private to serve and care for other people. And I think it's kind of ironic, because I think it's actually I think it will harm them in the long run. But people beg me to be private with my concerns.
Okay, so you have some conflicting feelings around having a private conversation, because a part of you would just like really be able to be yourself in whatever place and to speak about things, but you're wanting to take other people into consideration, like you've heard wishes expressed, to hold them with care.
Yes, they are telling me that they would like to have the option to hear my truth rather than to be forced to hear my truth. I think it's a little bit silly, because I think that people have the ability to make decisions about where they pay attention. So that if I post something that's difficult to read, I think people have the agency and choice to not read it if they don't like it. I am told constantly that people are too stupid and they don't have that ability, and they come upon what I say and it is devastating for them. And that,
so if kind of sticking on the task of what a possible talk between you and me would look like, is your wish for it to be private, regardless of what the motivations are for it?
yeah, I do wish that I prefer to be private because I think it makes it more manageable.
And
so, yeah.
you
So
mentioned, yeah.
If I want to speak about X, Y, and Z people, they don't then come out of the woodwork and say, you were talking about me, and you know, and now I have a fight with you, and then we have no way to manage it. They just, they do whatever, they block me or something. So, and they, or
So it's kind of easier having a space where the people who are joining that space are actually willing to be there and engage, and you don't have to deal with kind of consequences of how whatever actions or words have an impact on other people who might not be so interested in engaging.
Yes, it makes it easier for me to take responsibility for the things I say.
Just for the sake of easiness, I would say I'm okay with that private conversation. You said facilitators. I'm okay with that. Even though, yeah. Like, do you have any specific requests when it comes to, or like when I say requests, like what type of support or qualities, or if there are specific persons that you would like to facilitate? Like,
no, I'm open to other people facilitating. I do prefer to have it in text form, because the text form of a private conversation allows me to consider to take more time to consider how things other people say affect me and how I would like to respond. So if we're having a text conversation, I can take it slower. I can I can more easily go back and review what other people are saying to better understand them within the context. For me, it's a strategy for slowing difficult conversations down. So that is maybe, I don't know, my third or fourth concrete suggestion about a space that would support us in having a conversation, would be to have it in text form.
So text is something that's meaningful for you because it gives you space to engage with it whenever you have the space for it, or it gives you time to reflect on it, and yeah, it just slows it down. Not getting so caught up in the emotions, but you have time to kind of really take it in and see how what is said works for you. What are your other things? Meaningful ways of engaging, or where there's an increase in trust that that there can be an exchange of perspectives that feels like it holds care for you.
that the participants in the conversation are informed so that they're not day tripping rage tourist spectators, but that they are people who are part of the community, who I have ongoing relationships with, so that they know me, they know my history, or some of it, so that the container contains people who are in my life, not just strangers.
So you would like to have a say in who joins the conversation, because you want to feel that it's people who are not just kind of fleeting presence, but people that you have a sense of connection to. That would make it more meaningful and safe, and have a more caring aspect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking at the time. I don't know how much time did you have left.
10 minutes.
Okay. What I'm suggesting is that maybe we can all just be fine with what happened on the call now. And I would like to have another public call where we maybe more easily get into just talking about the meta stuff, and then come to an agreement on what and where and with who, or not with who, but like who the facilitators are at least, or like how to get to that, how it will take place. So we're not there yet, but it's a start. How does that sit with you, James?
Oh yeah, that's good. I think we are. My impression is I think we're closer to that. I mean, I think we're there. I think that's kind of what we're doing already, and I'm happy to continue doing that with a specific schedule.
Okay, so you're okay with arranging another public talk to get to the details of what the conversation will look like, or the process will look like, to have conversations about
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I also hear that it's been meaningful for you already to just engage in at the meta level of it all, that even that is something that kind of increases trust that there can be care. Yeah. So for my own sanity, could we look at a date for another call to see if we can get this thing going eventually? When would be a good time to meet?
This is my top priority. I'm ready to do it tomorrow, really. I mean, I'll do it whenever you guys want. Is there a desire to leave some space between now and then, like a week or something?
I'm okay with myself. I mean, how do you, Tina and David, feel about continuing as well? And I would like, when James leaves, it would be nice if we still stay on the call, because I'd also like to hear what's going on for you, so that you're not just kind of wallpaper. So Wednesday, for instance, how does that look for everyone?
Wednesday's good until about 11 o'clock. I mean, if you guys wanted to do 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for another 90 minutes. if that worked. Seeing nodding heads. Everybody
I
good?
see. Yeah, I see a thumbs up from Tina as well.
Okay. So
I'm wondering as well, because for me, it really gives a sense of ease when the call is on time, especially when it is something that is like a sensitive thing for me.
can we come to some agreements?
Well, actually, Wednesday we have a Hearth call at 10 a.m. So
No, I thought that was 11.
we could do 8 a.m.
Would be fine with me if it's good with everybody else. 8 Eastern Standard Time. I think that would be. That's 7 o'clock for you, Tina.
Yes, I think that works. And we would say 1.5 to 2 hours, right? No.
I think 1.5 is okay, but I would really like for it to be on time. It's one of my things where I mean, I understand I myself got late on a call that was important to me not too long ago. But for me, it just kind of gives a lot of ease already if I just, okay, now's the time, I click on the button and I'm in. So I'm wondering if David,
In answer to your question, Mila,
yeah,
I'm wondering, like this go round, I actually tried to start the call myself and posted on my number. That happened almost right before Tina joined in, so it really didn't do anything except create confusion. But if you'd like, I could actually start the call next week on Wednesday. And that'll give Tina a little bit more time to get ready since it's so early for her there.
yeah,
If that works for everybody. And it's
yeah.
free.
So Dave, you have a Zoom?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I shared it actually in the with you this morning. I think I shared it with all three of you. But I can share it on the Hearth page at 8 o'clock
Yeah.
on
So,
Wednesday.
okay. So I'll make an invitation for it in the NVC witness group, and I might make some compilation of the calls that have been so far if I have the time and energy for it at some point. Right now I'm a bit a broken person, so I don't feel like it. But at least there will be some kind of invitation for it. So David, you share yours. Was that the? I'll ask you for the Zoom room number so I get it. Yes. Okay, that's clear enough. Would you like to have like a checkout, James, before you get off the call, or?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Who wants to start?
I'm a little bit confused actually. I'm still trying to figure out exactly where we are as far as the next call being recorded or not. I understand Mila's need for security and James's need to speak freely and comfortably. And I know you've been both kind of working on that, but I'm not sure exactly where we got to and whether or not in the next call it's going to be recorded or not, and whether we're going to be working towards establishing what the act is.
It's a good question. So instead of, yeah, from my point of view, I would like to have the call recorded, recorded because it's still on the meta level. And like I said, I'm willing to engage in private conversation, but that's after there's a structure for it. I'm not willing to go in and do the, because this is heavy work, I feel, to just get to an agreement on like how to talk about stuff. And I wouldn't want to do that in a setting that is even more stressful for me. Public gives me less stress. And I'm really grateful that James is willing to put himself through something that's uncomfortable for him for the reason you mentioned, like wanting to just be able to be. So yeah, I guess that's my response. What is James' response to your question?
Thanks. My response is that I mean, I think I'm with Milla. I mean, we're gonna make it a recorded call, and we're in the process of discussing why and what we want for future calls. These are initiated by Milla, and she's setting up the parameters of what makes sense for her and what she wants these calls to be. And so I'm kind of exploring the space between what I would like and doing what other people would like. And in terms of defining the act, David, I think that that's important, but I don't think it's so much part of, yeah. Is it what we're doing, or are we doing something a little bit more abstract? Happy to do it. I don't think it would fall within the structure or system building part of our conversation.
I certainly don't want to ask any questions that would push either of you guys to feel like you're beaten or you're outpacing your capacity to engage in the conversation. I mean, you seem to be kind of doing fine before I ask these questions, and if they're kind of leading.
I was answering your question, and now you're kind of muddling it for me. I don't know what you're talking about, Dave. I mean, my experience of what you're saying right now is kind of like, I don't know how to put words to it, but I'm confused about what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're apologizing, Dave, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, I'm hearing that there's something that you maybe want to ask or something right now. Is that it, or David?
Well, I wanted to establish some clarity for the next call.
Yeah.
Both of you are comfortable with that.
Yeah. So my idea for the next call is, this is a part of system building, but it's just getting into a specific conflict, a live conflict between two people, and talking about what could be a possible way of having a meaningful conversation. So we're still at the very meta level of it, and we didn't get to a clear conclusion of, like, you know, what are the concrete steps. And I'm hoping that the next call will more easily get into just what are the concrete steps that we can agree on that would be. Yeah. And I'm kind of understanding that James is on the same page, even though it's kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I like about what we're doing is I like the idea of doing system building with people we're in conflict with. Because I think what often happens is we do system building with people we're not in conflict with, and then attempt to drag them into the system. But if you do system building with people you're in conflict with, then you're working to make agreements that are the foundation of having that conflict out in a meaningful way with the people you're in conflict with.
Is it making more sense to you now, David, or you still have some?
Yeah, I was trying to express concern, I guess, that by asking a lot of questions about the structure and leading where that was going, rather than giving the two of you space to work it out yourselves, I'd be undermining a part of the process. And I think I'm starting to kind of become aware of that now. It's more for me to sit back and bear witness. If
Dave, I think you're underestimating the beneficial aspect of you being here, being a witness, and being a participant, an active participant. So when I hear you apologize for asking questions or for interfering, I am concerned that you're retreating into spectatorship rather than participation.
Yeah, I mean, I hear your concern in kind of wanting to give space for James and myself to work things out in a way that works for us, but also that you have some questions around, okay, what's been said and how is this going to like build something further, or and I'm also agreeing with James that you have a lot of important input in it as well, because I see you as well as somebody who's impacted by the conflict, like Tina and you are also impacted by the conflicts that have been going on. You're not here for nothing. So I think it would be great. Like we didn't have like the finishing like check. I would like to have a checkout before James gets off the call. But after that, maybe we could, depending on how you feel about time, we started the call a bit later, but maybe to hear a bit from what's going on for both of you, David and Tina, as well. Because I agree with James that I think that you also have valuable input.
Well, let's let James check out so he can go to his appointment.
Thanks. Okay. Yeah, I have a feeling of gratitude for people here, for you, Milla, for sticking with this, organizing calls, showing up even when you're experiencing stress, and also for being clear about what you want, asking for it over and over again. I have a lot of respect, gratitude for that. Feel supported by it. Feel like it builds trust. And Dave and Tina, I feel grateful for your showing up as well, consistently and imperfectly, and bearing witness in a gentle way, which participates but is not overly pushing us in any direction. Yeah, I'm grateful to myself as well for similarly asking for what I want and exploring. I think we're exploring, and I have a good feeling about where it's going. I know it's not. We don't know where it will lead, and that's why it's exciting. So I have big hopes for where it could lead in supporting our ability to work with conflict, and even the potential for supporting others to do the same. And that is a very high priority for me. So I think we're doing that, and I'm happy about that. Thank you. I'm done.
Would you like to hear checkouts from us as well, or are you pressed with time?
Yes.
Yeah. Who wants to go next?
I can go. I'm grateful too for everyone kind of building the system as we go, even though I wouldn't call it, it formal system building, but the experimental quality of these calls, that it's, I think Milla had put it, we'll just sort of do it and then have feedback on what worked and what didn't. rather than adhering to any real formal structure, but yet wanting to keep the focus for at least this call and the next one on the meta level. And that helps me with clarity around, what we'll be working toward. And so I also regret getting up late and not being on time, as I don't want, it's already sort of, we're working with a conflict situation, and adding more stress is not my wish. So yeah, grateful to Dave, and Dave, I found where you sent the link for your Zoom room. So yeah, looking forward to talking with you guys on Wednesday. And everyone's willingness is really appreciated to show up. So I'm complete.
Me or you, David?
Go ahead, Milla.
What's there? Oh. That it's scary to mention like stressors, like the thing about a call being on time, and I'm glad to be heard in that by Tina now as well. And because I don't want it to be taken personally either, because we're also unique in our way of speaking and being with every aspect of life. So that's also part of getting to know a person, like how they are with time, and like finding ways of kind of once there's predictability, it makes it easier somehow, understanding people's habits and ways of being. Yeah, and also I know I'm like in my own head with how I see things, and I'm glad that this call, I feel that I'm kind of understood in my intentions. And I'm glad that there are people here wanting to play along, like to try towards something different than what has been, and see if we can get better and better at meeting one another in ways that feel like they work. So I'm really grateful for that. And you mentioned it as well, James, just it makes a lot of sense for me. I'm really grateful for that we're on, so to speak, opposite ends, and that we're both willing to meet, because very often the case is that when there's so much intensity, then it's just easier to move apart. So I'm so grateful for that opportunity, that there's that kind of like, hey, let's try something. And I think if we learn whatever we kind of manage to learn from this, I think others might be able to benefit from it as well. That's my hope. But at the same time, I'm just completely open to that. I have no clue what's going to happen next. Yeah. So yeah, I'm grateful for everybody's presence, and also wanting to echo what James was saying about that we're all participants, we're all involved. Everybody, like what's going on for you has value. Nobody is less worth. Yeah. So that's me, and it's snowing a bit outside. Your turn, David.
I'm celebrating that we made some progress today, and we've established that there will be facilitators that have care and empathy set up, and we can establish some parameters for next time. We can work towards exploring things on a meta level. I'm feeling complete.
I didn't hear the last part you said.
I've got some questions answered today, so I'm feeling complete.
So, yeah, James, you're welcome to leave the call now.
Yes, I'm going to go, and I will
Yeah.
be talking to you, hopefully everyone on Wednesday. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. Tina and David. David, just to check with time, I'm good for at least 20 minutes. I'm capable to take in what's going on. I would just like to focus on both of you and what's going on for you. And yeah, who wants to start? Or how would you like to engage?
Well, I know we kind of pre-established the call time, and it seemed like the level of irritation that both of you were experiencing going into the call might have had to do with not having a completely established goal or parameters, and James didn't really bring up his hard deadline until quite a ways into the call. And I'm wondering if
your sound is breaking up. James didn't establish what?
the fact that he had to leave at a particular time. I mean, he kind of held back on that for a little while, and I'm wondering if by asking those questions at the beginning of the call, it would have created a bit more ease for both of you. So I think I was kind of formulating my question when James was sort of telling me not to be apologetic in asking the question the first time. So I'm curious about that. I mean, we didn't really establish the parameters going into it, and I'm wondering if that would have been helpful.
Would you like to have an answer or for me? At least. Yeah, I do. That's why it's so important for me to have some kind of clear idea of a structure for having the conversation or the conversations later, because it brings a lot more ease if we know what's going to happen. And now I know that I was dealing with other stuff, so I didn't put any effort into. It was just, okay, we agreed on having this call like a couple of days before I put the event out, and like I'm happy with how it went. For me, a lot of the stress, I could release it more by just saying that how I felt, like both about the call starting late, that it was just kind of increasing the stress, and also that I do feel like I have a central role in leading it further. And sometimes I would just like to, like, okay, somebody else take what's in my wishes and wants and like general ideas and do it rather than being a person involved in a conflict and like doing it, which is not the best, but it's the reality, I think, in a lot of cases, that the people who are feeling it, they have to do something. Yeah. I don't know what was going on for James, only he can kind of answer that. But did my answer give you anything? Yeah.
Would it make life easier for you next week, or on Wednesday, excuse me, if I facilitated and recorded the call? Because I think I'd be prepared to take that on if it made life easier for you. I'm aware that I'm asking the question, and James is present. You probably want input on that question.
I would say that sometimes I feel you're kind of going off in different directions. So it depends on the thought of it. The immediate answer is no, unless there's a clear structure for the call. I feel the way this call went that, okay, it's more clear what's going to happen, and there's already some pieces put out there. I'm confident it's not going to be as stressful the next call. So my preference would be to do it myself.
That's good. It creates ease for me, actually, knowing what the rules are ahead of time going in flow.
Yeah.
I'm quite satisfied with that answer.
Yeah. Of course, I'm torn because I'm aware of like, okay, somebody facilitating is also like, yeah, but what is being facilitated? Yeah, in this case, it's putting myself in the center. So, you know, yeah.
But I'm imagining, Milla, because I've heard your wishes and your intentions stated by, well, both you and James, for there to be choice and people expressing themselves how they just do naturally, you know, in the conflict and in this series of calls and in this space. And so I'm guessing as a facilitator and participant, central participant, there's that balance between wanting to really to be heard and all that's there for you, and to hear James, and to do, you know, so you're balancing all these plates in the air in a way, you know, and I'm wondering if that's part of it.
A part of what?
The stress, maybe having several roles to sort of juggle.
Yeah, I mean, my dream has always been to be able to just kind of, oh, there's a conflict. Now I just talk to that person and then we're on the way. Like, not like, oh, who do I get to talk with first, and how can I make myself understood? And yeah, for sure. That's kind of what I wish, and that's why I offer mediation for other people as well, because I've been there. I am there continuously. But yeah, so it's not ideal, but since I know myself better, then right now it's what works for me. It's less stress than, for instance, engaging you know, engaging a facilitator, another person that I then need to like explain myself further to. And yeah, so right now at this stage it's working better for me, even though it's a bit messed up.
Yeah, and I'm also appreciative of the reminder that people take care of themselves and have empathy available, or to seek that out, to take advantage of that, if, you know, all of us, to, you know, just keep that in the back of our minds, or actually the front of our minds, you know. And so, yeah, that explicitly stating it versus assuming or having it implicit that we will get empathy when we need to. So I just appreciate that reminder.
Yeah. And also this kind of openness to that we're just searching and trying to understand the ways that can make sense. We don't know yet. So yeah, there's going to be some bruises and things like that along the way. Yeah.
That reminds me that I think you had shared it, Milla, on maybe on, or someone else did, but on the Restorative Circles Facebook page, the Laura Joy's, it was a recorded, looked like a Q&A from one of her in-person, the team in Auroville's in-person sort of workshops or symposiums on RC, and then, people's questions. And, she mentioned that just the amount of time it takes to get a system built, operational. I almost would say, built is one thing, operational is another, where it's functioning and stuff. And also at times, the reminder that people are invited to a circle and that it's voluntary. She had expressed some regret that with some of the conflicts, there was just no one wanted to show up. And that they were fine to be, interestingly, a lot of them were fine to be pre-circled. But when it came to the sitting in the circle, that was a threshold for some people. Just hearing someone who's done the work, and it's been involved in it for years, expressing that, this isn't perfect, because we're working with humans, was a great reminder to be maybe more gentle with ourselves and others.
Yeah, I watched those videos too, and for me it was also humbling, or there's admiration in seeing a person who she said different things. She said something about either that she's been doing it for 7 years or that in the last 1 or 2 years. So I guess there's like 2 different processes that's been going on somehow, and like there's maybe been a shifting gear or whatever, but that this was still kind of in the same community, having a presentation of what RC is, even after doing it for years in the same community, like just trying to get going of what the main idea is. But I do trust, I did notice as well in the video that they did mention that patriarchal structures was a part of the problems in their community, and also that there was mostly women attending. That didn't like go unnoticed. But yeah, I do think there are a lot of interesting questions there. That what makes it a nice idea to enter a circle rather than nicer to stay away? That is like a really interesting question for me. Yeah. If you haven't had any experience of it before, or no references or anything.
Yeah, and kind of that's a reminder to me, or an awareness that we're being a little bit of pioneers here, or this is something new and different. As to my knowledge, the restorative systems that have been established, beginning in Brazil and everywhere in different communities, whether it's schools or whatever, have been in person. And so we're doing this loving this technology, the Zoom, to be able to talk in real time. But we've done some by text, checking in and that kind of thing. And so we're on like a new frontier, sort of, and that it will take some time. It's a reminder for myself. Yeah.
I'm just making a joke to myself. It will take some time before we give up. Yeah, it's hard to feel any excitement sometimes, for me at least, and it's easy to give in to what's frustrating and what's not working.
It takes a lot of patience.
Huh?
It takes a lot of patience.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm feeling a lot of um, impatience. You know, you kind of want to charge ahead or whatever out and fly it and, you know, throw out a bunch of pamphlets and stuff. I mean,
Can you say again? I didn't hear. Throw out a lot
I've
of.
had moments when I wanted to kind of charge out into my community or whatever, armed with a whole bunch of photocopied information and stuff, and just start passing it out. And it would probably have almost zero impact except for killing a tree.
Mm,
You know, you have to kind of fully acknowledge that it's the FaceTime or whatever that really has the deepest impact.
mm,
If you're reprogramming neural pathways and stuff, and that the paperwork and whatnot that helps kind of reinforce and remind somebody comes after the fact. But I was curious sort of what the implicit and explicit agreements that you were kind of looking for, if anything came out for you when you were watching those videos, because I find your perception and exploration sometimes kind of a little bit deeper than mine.
you mean the implicit or an explicit agreement of how to guides not being shared about RC, or
No,
what
not
other?
that specific. I was just wondering exactly what you enjoyed about the video, I guess, and if anything that struck you while you were going through it, because I've seen it and I just
Hmm.
wanted to get your take on it, I guess.
Well,
Open-ended question.
yeah, like I said, I think it's beautiful that people um, people find one another, that they find some system that they want to try it out, that they want to learn from it. I think that's brilliant. Um, I also found it interesting. I really enjoyed, because there was a woman who was saying that it's frustrating to go to a circle when we're just like talking about the stuff, and the working groups, they don't implement anything. And then later on there was another woman who was participating, who was kind of giving her own point of view on, yeah, in our community we because there was a discussion about whether or not you invite a whole working group, or if you like how you send out an invitation, or if you just ask for specific individuals. And I just liked that it seemed like, oh, they had come up with a really practical solution, that you kind of send it out to them. Then the people who are like resonate with it, who find it important enough to attend, they then they ask for permission to be able to make decisions, and to, like, it just makes sense to me. It's like easy, efficient. I also understand like the other woman who was then kind of making a point on that, saying again that it's about the systemic thinking, about like not just being a part of a machinery and like doing things, or like, not taking responsibility. I'm now in a different role, so I'm not here as a person anymore. You can't. Yeah. It was just interesting seeing that there's also conflict in that space of making the presentation of it, that it's still something that's very alive and moldable. And yeah, I got a lot of curiosity as well, like, okay, who started this Auroville? How do they engage with the community around them? What are the people who come there, who visit? How long do they stay? How big is the community? Stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. What were your own thoughts?
I've been kind of thinking about exactly what changes in behavior occur with people who are exposed to this sort of thing, even for a short period of time, that aren't immediately obvious in the community. But I mean, the structure stays the same, but their internal processes change, their interpersonal processes change. Um, I don't know. It's just sort of interesting what the subtle impact would be that you don't necessarily see immediately, but it would have bigger impact over time.
I guess it makes for sure a difference in all kinds of smaller interactions going on that
Yeah.
become easier. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's so vague. It's hard to say. So we're approaching the hour. Is there anything either one of you? It wasn't so structured at the end here, but we just talked here and there. Is there anything that you would like to be heard in before ending the call? Something that's still there?
Oh, I'm just realizing I only watched part of I think what I saw shared to the Restorative Circle Facebook page was sort of a part 2, and I hadn't watched any of the part 1 nor all of the part 2. So I'm kind of setting an intention to follow up on that, because I'm hearing, Milla, that there's more learning even than the question and answer part that I saw, that there's experience there. And it could be informative for us. So, yeah, just grateful for all this sharing going on. And I'm complete.
Nice start of the morning for me. And enjoying the more casual flavor, I guess, of the last 10 or 15 minutes. It was nice being in a riff with you guys for a few minutes about Oroville and the RC process. I have to make sure that I'm well practiced at recording the videos and stuff for next Wednesday. So go and do that after this.
Yeah, the recordings aren't fun because they're split into different files. You have to figure out which one is the video one and how to send it, and not so fun stuff like that.
I'm going to stop the recording right now because we're kind of just, right?
Yeah.